Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 918. I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
Morning, Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
We teased it at the end of the last episode, thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen this week? Who knows? It could be a thing, could be another thing. It's a thing, everyone. It's the first half of our Miniscope on Doctor Who director Saul Metzstein. He directed 5 episodes of Doctor Who in a year, and then never worked on the show again. Today we're talking about Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and A Town Called Mercy, the first 2 that he did. So stay tuned for that later in the episode. Patreon's got this one about a month back or so. They got a commentary for Modged Undead, too. That's just sitting there waiting for...
Wow. That's value for money there.
I know. We have that hasn't come out yet on our main feed, and then we have yet to record the one that's coming after that, which we're not going to tell you what it is because it's so mind-blowing that you won't believe it.
I know what it is, and I don't want to believe it. No, it's not Time Lash. No, it's not Twin Dilemma.
It's not. No, we haven't done either of those. Have we yet? No.
I don't think so. I'd have to check, but I think not.
Yeah.
And then maybe we never do them, hopefully.
I agree.
Why? What's wrong with them?
Bad, I mean, there's only so much vitriol that can be spewed.
What's wrong with the Twin Dilemma? That's clearly come on.
Yeah.
And I think we spent our allotment talking about the end of time. So, Stephen, you watched recently again.
Oh, I did. Let me tell you about the end of time. Bernard Cribbins, R.I.P. He's a legend. He's a legend. He actually saves that at times when he's in it, and then when he's not there, it's terrible. And yeah. It's still not good. Still not good on my pilgrimage. I watched The End of Time, parts 1 and 2. I finished them both off in one night because I wanted to get them over with. And
rip off that Band-Aid.
Yeah, it was tough. It wasn't. Well, here's what made it not so tough. I was playing a video game on the other TV.
Good man. Good man.
So,
were you like capping things and GTA 5 again?
Grand Theft Auto 5. No, I think, no, I wasn't capping things. I was exploring Cayo Perico. There's a heist in which I'm just addicted to. I always do the Cayo Perico heists now. And so I just wander around this Cayo Perico island, scouting out secondary targets for the heist, and doing that while having End of Time play out. Listen, I actually looked at the clock, like, oh wow, here's the beginning of the build up to the big cliffhanger, where for some reason the Master becomes everyone on Earth and then does nothing with it for 40 minutes, and then Rassilon just reverses it. Anyway, 9 minutes that stupid cliffhanger builds up to at the end of Time. It's so long, and then it's just John Sim laughing and waving to other versions of John Sim for the last 2.5 minutes of it. It's just like, wow, it's ridiculous. I'm glad it's over. So, but here's the question though: would I rather watch The End of Time again without wandering around a fictitious private island in Grand Theft Auto, or would I want to watch a musical Star Trek episode? And the answer is I will watch The End of Time.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep. You can't say that because you didn't even watch the musical Star Trek episode.
I couldn't.
Why would I do that to myself, Chris?
You know what?
Now you have seen it, so you should probably tell us first what it's like.
Yeah. Well, people who like musicals just love it, and so that's what it's steals all the oxygen on social media and everyone. Oh, what a great musical episode!
A day or two after the streaming debut, all the songs hit streaming music streaming services. So I mean,
great,
if you want to listen to the stuff,
I don't.
You can do that through your preferred streaming music streaming source. But
no, I don't need to do that.
I wish you the best, people who like musicals. I'm sure this is delightful, but I do not care for them.
Really
so putting them aside, Star Trek is it's like peanut butter and broccoli. I do not want that. No, thank you.
There's even a reference to the Buffy musical in it.
I couldn't care less. The Buffy musical is what started this whole stupid thing off.
It did.
Of fans demanding that everything have a musical episode.
Yeah. And then we get them. And thankfully Doctor Who's avoided it for now that we know of. Oh, boy.
I remember there being a bit of uproar over A Christmas Carol and the songs in it, because
one
Catherine
song,
Jenkins
it's fine.
was in it.
It actually
And it
has a reason to be there.
It's diegetic, yeah. Like I'm fine with diegetic stuff. That's perfectly fine. But when like you have to concoct what was there, some subspace anomaly or something that caused everyone to dance and sing? Of course it did. In Buffy, it was like, oh, there was some curse or something that caused everyone to dance and sing. In Doctor Who, it'll be, oh, we're in a world where everyone has to dance and sing. And
oh god, it's so tiresome.
It's just I have such a visceral reaction to musicals that was tested. I thought that I would have mellowed, but then when I saw this, and Eric actually turned to me and says, "Why are you so negative about this?" I hate them. I absolutely hate it.
Yep, I'm totally on your team here. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Maybe it's just the threat of them. That they might incur. It's they might invade Doctor Who, and like
here's what it is. I don't like seeing theater kids be happy.
Now we've peeled back some layers here,
and they're at their happiest when they're doing musicals.
Oh, that's true.
That's a half truth.
There is I can't remember if I mentioned
that's half truth. They're never happy.
No, I can't. Very true. I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, but the show Lucifer, starring Tom Ellis, who was in Last of the Time Lords, and played that doctor that Martha was engaged to and never seen again, and then he's gone, and she's married to Mickey Smith at the end of time. We brought it back around. There is a sequence there where I think his character. I didn't watch it. I was like in the room when Erica watched a lot of episodes, so I didn't follow along closely. But there's a police person there, and I think he has a crush on her, and I think they actually finally like say yes to their relationship. And at the end of the previous episode, and the next episode begins. And it's this song and dance number to "I'm All Right" by Kenny Loggins, and everyone's just jumping around and dancing. There's all this, and it's sort of played out as an internal monologue, and it happens, and it's kind of great actually. There's a lot of great choreography and everything else, and then he just sits down and talks to the police dog as if nothing happened, and it's great. That's how you do musical things. You do this one-off little thing, and then it's over, and you just sort of marvel in the spontaneity of it, so to speak. But to do the whole episode, it's just like you're just waiting around. Oh, they're going to start singing the song again soon, aren't they? Oh, here it is, and then it's just going to be.
Also, Chris sent us a list from Reddit of a bunch of episode titles that probably aren't legit. And the number one bone of contention is which one is a musical episode?
Yeah, Series 14
was a musical episode. Like it wasn't, there will be or won't be a musical episode. It was like the fans were convinced there was a musical episode. They'd convinced themselves.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to get real mad when there isn't one.
To what you were saying, Stephen, the Drew Carey show did that several times and in a very good way.
Yeah.
Like just a random bit, or as good as a random song out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah. I'm not an Anchorman stan, but there's that bit when they just sort of start singing Afternoon Delight in Perfect Harmony, and they
Which
get
is
on
quite
with their
funny.
day. And I love little bits like that, but a whole episode is just like, no, I can't do it. I couldn't even watch the trailer. I thought, you know what, I'd give it a shot. Let's see how bad this is. Like, maybe I could at least hate what? No, couldn't even do it. Couldn't even watch the trailer for it. Can't do it. Can't do it. I can't do it.
I haven't seen the trailer either. I can't do it either. It just gets on my nerves so much. I don't know why it just does.
Yeah, I don't.
As somebody who doesn't have this level of hatred and whatnot towards such
it's
things.
More irritation than hatred. Like I'm not seething at the mouth about it. I just don't care. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch it. Kat was quite looking forward to it. She really enjoyed it. I was reasonably indifferent. Like, yeah, it's there. I watched it. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on it.
No. Like I said, I'm happy you're happy, musical fans. I'm not happy.
No, not happy. We're allowed to be not happy too. We're not, we're allowed to not like a thing, and we don't like musicals. 2/3 of us.
Strange New Worlds, exactly like TNG seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then every Star Trek should be like the one I grew up with. God damn it! Come on. Sorry, I swear it there and get the stays around.
I know that I feel like I'm sort of siloing myself off in terms of my fandom of certain, like there's a new Star Wars show coming up, and
I'll quote our private text chain from the other day.
Okay, keep it clean.
Star Trek is dead to me, is what you said.
Well, I also said it as a joke. because I like season 3 of Picard, and the guy who made it hasn't made anything before or since. Now he's gone, and he's never making another Star Trek. I'm like, why would you do that? It's like season 3 of Picard is like the season 7 of Doctor Who. It's like, oh, it's perfect. I can't wait to. No, he's gone. He's not making another one. We're completely changing it. Oh, okay, that's fine.
So you're saying about Star Wars?
Well, there's a new Star Wars show coming up, and just like.
Ahsoka, looking good.
Is it?
But it looks. Every time I see the trailers, I'm like, this looks cool, but it feels like there's going to be homework involved, and I don't want to do homework.
It does. It really does.
Well, I mean, you're not. Pardon me. You're not wrong because of all the, not just Rebels references, but characters.
And I don't know who any of these people are. other than Thrawn from the books. That's the only person I know. He's in Rebels too.
He's just Blue Tarkin, isn't he? I mean, that's all he is. He's just
essentially, but very clever.
As somebody who watched Rebels, I'm looking forward to it. But I didn't watch Clone Wars, so I didn't care about Bad Batch. So I mean, there's definitely going to be.
And I watched Bad Batch and liked it, and then didn't watch Clone Wars either. So
yeah. You're not wrong though. There's definitely going to be homework involved, and that. But I mean, that goes without saying for The Mandalorian, for
way less for Mandalorian.
A little bit though.
I don't know. We're pretty well versed in Star Wars. I think people.
But also, when the Mandalorian, when he wandered in, it was like this is the man with no name, right?
That's true.
Specifically, is that character? Yeah, but they got all this backstory.
They still have other things like what is presumably Anakin's ship. You got Mos Eisley. You've got Tatooine.
Forgot about. Good, thank God. I have missed
there's a lot of stuff that is
I suppose
entrenched.
I suppose, especially when you keep going back to like the same 20 years of, because this is what Star Trek does too, let's face it.
I don't remember what the show's called, but there's one that's set 100 years before in the High Republic that's coming next year, I think
it's called the High Republic, isn't it? I don't know. No, it's...
Well, what I love about the High Republic is that they've been seeding the High Republic stuff into the video games, and I've been playing Survivor, and I'm playing Galaxy's Edge, the VR game, and like there you walk around, you're like, oh, I recognize this architecture. This is High Republic stuff. It's kind of cool that they're doing that.
Well, hopefully you don't have to have played a video game to understand a TV series.
No, it's just a style of architecture. It's like seeing Art Deco or something.
Right. Well, it's funny we mentioned this. Bringing it back to Doctor Who, as I try to like to do on this Doctor Who podcast, is that a couple nights before watching on my pilgrimage, because I've only been watching Doctor Who episodes. I've been watching spin-offs or anything like that. And Journey's End pops up, or Stolen Earth, and all of a sudden we're like seeing like Sarah Jane Smith and her son, and then there's these the tortured people, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what if you only watch Doctor Who? Who are these people all of a sudden? Who are these people? Why is this? I remember her from that one episode of Doctor Who from 3 years ago, and I don't know who these people are in the Torchwood with Captain Jack, who I do recall from Doctor Who. But if you didn't watch Torchwood or Sarah Jane Adventures, you'd be going, who are these people? And I kind of felt like that bit of like, oh, geez, I feel kind of guilty for people who are only just casual Doctor Who watchers at this point. And, that was 2008. That's like at the very beginning of this sort of shared universe sort of thing. And nowadays it's like, you got to watch, don't forget Star Wars Rebels, and you got to remember all these characters because it's going
to be fair. Mm-hmm. To be fair, people who have watched all and there's lots of them, and all of Rebels are going to get a whole lot out of this. So great. But I just haven't, and I'm not going to put all that time into doing it. So.
No, they do have Chopper, because every Star Wars show has to have a hook in the form of a cute creature, be it little young Princess Leia in Obi-Wan Kenobi, or obviously
K2,
a Baby Yoda.
K2SO4 or whatever. One of those,
he rules. Also,
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah. They need to bring in HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic, because that guy's a jerk.
I don't know who he is. That sounds like
he's a robot assassin who calls everybody a meatbag. He's just awesome. He's just a...
they got Chopper. Chopper was my favorite thing about Rebels. In fact, probably the only thing I remember about Rebels. He's a sweary little droid.
You got Sabine and all that. So.
Sure. I don't remember which one is which. One of them was like a Mandalorian, but like a punk Mandalorian, and there was another one who was
Sabine,
like
Sabine Wren.
It was a Bib Fortuna person, and then they had the guy who went blind.
Bib Fortuna person.
And there was Ezra. Ezra, I certainly remember.
Ezra Miller.
I don't remember much about him, actually.
Not Ezra Miller. That's the
Flash. That's a different one. There is no Ezra Miller.
Ezra Bridger. Ezra Bridger.
Who's also committed many crimes.
Yeah, they're not in that.
Currently in a bombing film, I don't know.
They had I watched at the time. Tom Baker plays a space moose in an episode, and I don't remember anything about Rebels.
but not that Space Moose.
Not that Space Moose.
No, that's a deep cut.
No, but there's a lot. I know. I look and I go, this just feels like just a live action remake of a Rebels episode. Do I want to watch this?
It's all Dave. I mean, it's all Dave Filoni. He made Rebels. He's making this. So our Roomba is called Chopper because of Rebels.
Chopper's great.
I mean, on the other hand, because I got this PSVR rig, what you can do besides VR is you can just fire up any. I've got it hooked up to my Plex, and I got Disney Plus on it, so I'm just like, I'm just going to watch A New Hope on this thing and see what it feels. And it's like sitting in a movie theater. It's pretty cool.
It's cool.
But I'm just sitting there watching the end of New Hope, going, how the hell do they spin 50 years plus of lore out of this? Because this, when you look at it, it's much as I love it, it's pretty damn ramshackle. Like it's just a bunch of stuff thrown at a wall. Really.
I know. Sometimes it's charming just to watch Star Wars, the original version of Star Wars, like not even A New Hope Star Wars, but Star Wars, and just watch it as a movie, and then just like, there we go, we're done. It's over. That was the Star Wars. We just saw it.
Well, I mean, great. As a kid, that's all you knew because that's all there was. You didn't. I remember seeing a picture of Yoda on People magazine and going, "The hell is that? What's going on?" And then realizing there was a sequel to Star Wars. Going, what? What blessed world do I live in? Kind of charming
in a way to watch something without knowing that it's going to be a whole spin-off universe coming out of it. Kind of like how I saw Jurassic Park for the first time this past week or two. Had never seen Jurassic Park. 30 years after it came out, I finally saw Jurassic Park.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It's a good movie.
You don't say.
Yeah, it's funny how like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park have kind of become like the Spaceship in 2001. Like they're like the first that really says, "Wow, this looks amazing" for the first time on film, and it's never really been bettered. Like because
no, it hasn't. I have said this before.
Yep. There's restraint. There's restraint. There's necessary restraint in Jurassic Park because the CG was so brand new that we can use it for some shots, but we're still going to use like big miniatures and models and everything else, and that's what makes it effective. But even the
CG shots still look good.
They still look really good. You know what makes them good is that I was telling you this, Warren. The camera retains its focus on the human characters and the dinosaurs run around them. So it feels like the dinosaurs are part of the action as opposed to the humans are mixed in with dinosaurs, because that's the perspective that the film is having too. We are humans now looking at dinosaurs in our world, and that's why it feels so they're a part of it. Nowadays, you'd probably make it and the camera would be swooping around and all this and be close-ups and everything else, and we wouldn't be that close to the dinosaurs, and therefore it has this sort of like mystical
it's like Jaws,
fantasy quality to it.
There's only so much they could do, so they did it effectively.
Yeah, and so I'm not watching any of the other Jurassic Park movies. There's no point in watching them.
There's a great cut in Lost World, but other than that,
I don't care. I don't care about that, Warren. I'm watching the first one and done. That's it. Watching it. That's okay. I'm done.
Warren, I'm assuming you've watched the whole run. I have, and you're Stephen. You're not wrong. I mean, it is all downhill after the first one.
Yeah. Like I never finished the latest one because I just got bored and quit halfway through.
No, just milking it after that.
But I have watched the rest. I didn't mind the first Jurassic World. It was kind of fun for what it was, and then the second one was stupid, and then Jurassic Park 3 is not great. Lost World isn't great, but it's got some great set pieces in it because it's Spielberg. And like I said, it's got this great cut of a woman screaming as presumably her child has been eaten by a dinosaur, and then they cut to Ian Malcolm yawning. Like, that is a beautiful edit. Beautiful.
I'm sure I could find that on a YouTube short.
Just look up good edit Lost World, and then you'll find it on YouTube. But it is a really good cut. So and I love good cuts. So.
Yeah, not everything has to be a franchise, we say, as Doctor Who nears its 60th anniversary later this year. Hopefully it does well at Disney Plus. Given that Secret Invasion completely tanked, and we'll see how Loki does, and we'll see how the Marvels does at the box office, and I don't know what the next streaming series on Disney Plus is going to, Ashoka, I guess that's coming up later this month. We'll see how that does, and oh boy,
can something from a foreign country count as a tax write-off? Because if it can, we might be in trouble.
No, I think we'll be fine. I'm really intrigued, given that, and Warren, you've seen Barbie now.
I have.
This, I mean, it's an established IP, to use vernacular. But it's a new movie. That's not Barbie 8. It's not it probably is sadly the first of many Barbie movies. But
I hope not, because just having seen it, like it ends perfectly. It does not need to have a sequel.
Well, that does the.
It will have one because it made a pile of money. But
$1 billion at the box office tell you otherwise. But like new ideas are what's like Oppenheimer and that, and like it's the new but familiar ideas that are driving the box office right now, and maybe even TV shows, and stuff like Marvel movie 38 is going to not be as successful because everyone's depending on 37 prior things to watch them in a row. And so I have to admit, I'm curious because Doctor Who refreshes itself nicely with each incarnation. It's completely brand new and it's a new product and stuff. And to Disney's mind, it's a brand new thing because they're launching it with 3 David Tennant episodes and then the Christmas special. But I'm really curious to see how Doctor Who does for them now, given their what's been going on in the past year with them.
I have run into a common attitude of people going, "Oh, I mean, I got to watch all this old stuff," and they're just talking about the "quote unquote" new show as opposed to classic. Even some people get put off, but they're like they think they have to watch it all. I'm like, no, you don't have to. You just pop in. But it has the same Marvel thing to it of, oh, I got to watch all this.
Yeah, there's a word. I don't know what the word is for it, but there's like anticipated like knowledge. Like you feel like you are probably going to have to know this to fully appreciate it. I think,
and you don't really for Doctor Who, but people unless they go through it don't know that. So.
Yeah, see this. I think we've talked about this before. The trouble with marketing the show. Oh, he's the Doctor. He's the 15th Doctor. Oh, so there are 14, and this is series 14. There's 14. Yes, there is, and yes, there are 26 prior seasons towards. Wow, so this is the 40th season of Doctor Who. Do I have to watch them all? Well, you can't because about 100 of them are missing, so you can't watch those. It's just like it's best not knowing the history of Doctor Who going into Doctor Who.
If I didn't know Doctor Who and somebody told me all this, I wouldn't watch it. I'd be like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, I know. This is the perils of having to promote a new old show every 3 to 5 years like this. And now this feels like the
RTD
newest.
is back. Well, who's that again? Like some people have no clue who that is.
Like David Tennant. Them, right? Like David Tennant's back. Like David Tennant was last Doctor Who 15 years ago. And it's like, is he back or is he brand new? Why? It's going to be intriguing. Going to be intriguing for new audiences because this feels like the first proper. I mean, Doctor Who's. I mean, it's a thing. I guess people we shouldn't. Expect less of audiences to fully understand this. But we're getting older and I feel like we're, certainly you and me, Warren, are becoming more obstinate in like, you want me to do homework for this? I am going into this completely cold just to spite you. So if you don't...
I'm not as obstinate as you, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little bit. I don't want to have to do homework, and I don't want people to enjoy Doctor Who to have to do homework either. So I feel kind of guilty whenever they throw in like,
if people like homework, more power to them.
I suppose. The previously on that started the Kenobi show was a great idea, and I hope that is kind of what we get when David Tennant's Doctor Who starts, just so everyone has something going into it about why he's returned to this face and why Donna Noble is going to be back, and explaining that whole situation. Because if they go in cold for a brand new audience on Disney Plus, it's going to go, what is going on here? Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, look at that, 23 odd minutes, and we wound back to Doctor Who.
Nonsense.
We did it, folks. We got back to Doctor Who. That's the opening. That's our opening banter game. We start off with Doctor Who, then we go off topic, but then we bring it back to Doctor Who. That's how we do it. That's how you do a podcast for nearly 17 years as we approach our 17th anniversary, 18th anniversary. 17th. I lost count.
2006.
2006. There you go.
Not yet able to drink, but close.
In Canada, kids, because we're better
good
here.
point, yes.
Yeah. Well, in Alberta, actually. It's 19 in Alberta. Ontario, rather. Hey, Warren, this is a magazine made especially for you. The Doctor Who Magazine Special 64 is Action Figures, The Essential Guide, 2005.
I have purchased
2023.
as of an hour ago.
It just covers the characters made for the show from 2005 to 2023. There's a previous special edition which covers off everything made that focuses on the classic series, even if it was made after the classic
this
series.
Is staple erasure.
Yeah, it's there are. I was flipping through this before we hit record, and there are a lot of action dollies that I'd never seen before. I had no idea they existed, and I'm impressed. And then you get to the Shivdalera, and there's the Doctor, there's her companions, there's a Jadoon. There's an angel, and that's it.
Jadoon and Angel, those are kind of gimmies. They're still around, so yeah.
Yeah.
That's, The only new guys there are the Doctor and companions.
Yeah, in different outfits. They're slightly different outfits. Anyway,
Once again, I will stream for the Joe Martin Doctor and for the Sacha Dhawan Master.
Yeah, I wonder what change is on the horizon when it comes to Doctor Who action dollies when it comes to this, because that's what really is an eye opener for this whole thing, is like how far we've kind of fallen. Like even in the Moffat era, kind of like there's not as many. Like there's some new Doctors Who and a companion or two, but there's really actually not a lot of toys from like 2013 onwards. It's kind of strange, you know. Yeah.
I'm just as a curiosity, I was looking at eBay for prices for the Jodie Whittaker Barbie.
Okay.
Given Barbie's in the zeitgeist, and wow, these are going for like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. Damn. Should have scooped one up when I had the chance.
I should have too, and I didn't.
Oh well, rabbit. Maybe they'll put out a Ncuti Gatwa Ken doll also.
Well, he is. Yeah, that's true. He is Ken. Having seen it, he does have 5 lines.
5 lines. I know. I have to
he's a hell of a dancer, though.
Yeah. Well, I know he's in the background. It's kind of like the Greek chorus a lot of the time, apparently. But
he's front of the background.
Is front of the background. Oh, thank God.
Basically, Simu Liu and Ryan Gosling are in the front, and then there's some other guy I don't know, and Ncuti Gatwa are kind of on the sides. But they're like the most important of the background guys, if that makes any sense.
I suppose. Well, I did see him in a trailer, and I pointed at the screen every time when he was there. He wasn't saying anything. I thought, I can't wait to see the movie when he's not going to say anything. So I have to admit, my enthusiasm for Barbie dropped a wee bit when I heard how little Ncuti Gatwa was going to be in it.
Why is it catering exclusively to me?
Yeah, I know. So I don't know.
That's how you make $1 billion worldwide. Caters to Steven.
They might be missing out on their $21.99 for me for a while. I don't know.
It's really good. Like I saw it yesterday, and it's very funny. Yeah. And I can see why all the man babies in the internet are mad, because it takes no prisoners when it comes to making fun of dudes, which it should, frankly.
Yeah, well, I am, quite frankly, Warren, I am very sensitive to that now, and I'm offended. Having not
fragile,
seen this
I believe,
movie.
is the term you're looking for.
No. I think I'm just being attacked, I think, is Warren.
You're responding with facts and logic in this debate.
It's true. I just want to have a debate. I just want Margot Robbie to debate me on Twitter about why
they're probably asking for that.
Yeah,
you're just asking questions here, Stephen.
Just asking questions, exactly.
Well, we are running the gamut of right-wing idiocy on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely, we are bringing it up to smack it down. I mentioned something before about having to know, all this homework and background information on stuff like that. With that, I present you the hours 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock of Doomsday. PM. I've lost count of which hours.
I no idea.
Kids, I'm going to say it. I'm not into Doomsday. I haven't read a single thing. I haven't listened to a single thing. There's a new Big Finish one coming out.
That's all I did.
You read a comic? Was that the first one? The first hour?
The one with Missy. I don't know which hour it was.
I feel like we've jumped several hours, because I don't remember her afternoon ever showing up in here. See, this is what I'm talking about.
I think she was napping.
Well, there's a time when she has to sleep, and that is in the afternoon. She wakes up at 8 p.m. Doomsday time for 4 Big Finish episodes coming out in September, which I think is close to wrapping up. There's a wrap-up, obviously, for the 24th hour. I don't know where that's going to be. But, I mentioned about, hey, am I going to enjoy Ashoka? Am I going to watch Ashoka if I don't remember any of Rebels? Well, guess what? There's like a multi-platform thing. It probably sounded like a thing. This was probably greenlit when everyone was thinking, wow, yeah, there's going to be stuff. There's going to be Marvel series, and everyone loves Marvel, and everyone loves watching every single series and movie and everything like that. Yeah. And then it comes to fruition, and everyone's tired of it, and now we're having to look through it.
I mean, say what you want about Secret Invasion or Book of Boba Fett or whatever. Right. At least that stuff is all in one place. It's contained.
Yeah.
It's accessible.
That's true. Yeah.
This and what was the other one from a few years back?
Time Lord Victorious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so fragmented. I mean, I appreciate there are more. I appreciate that they're utilizing the outlets that they have available, so comics and audio and all that kind of stuff. But man, they don't make it easy.
They don't. No.
It's kind of like 3D and interactive TV, the two things that people are like, this is going to catch on this time, and it never does. And this is a lot of work, so I'm not besmirching anybody's work they put into this, because it is a lot of work, logistically speaking, and also the creation of it. But it just is too much. I can't keep track.
No. And if the incentive there is to keep track, maybe I don't know, how do you do it? I don't know how you do it.
But again, I've said this before. Like, we're all in our 40s and 50s. Some 15-year-old kid, it's probably second nature to them to be zip zapping all over the place with this kind of stuff. To them, maybe it's just, this totally makes sense to me. Like, I don't know. I'm not a 15-year-old kid, so.
I mean, and for me, it's any apathy I have toward this is not apathy toward the product, just the distribution.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. You're right. Maybe some teenager out there discovering all this is lapping it up, and they're going here and going there and whatever. But I don't have the energy to.
I mean, I know numerous people, including I believe your wife, who got into Doctor Who via Torchwood, right? So this is kind of sort of like that. Some kid's going to see Doomsday and go, I like this, and then get into the rest of it. So great.
Absolutely. I mean, as we've said however many times before, every Doctor Who story is somebody's first and somebody's favorite. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. If Twin Dilemma is your first or your favorite,
unless it's Dimensions in Time, in which case you're wrong and you should seek help.
That's true. Somebody watched Doctor Who for the first time with Dimensions in Time, and even that at least was easy to find. I was on TV. 15 million people watched that. So anyway, you know what? Credit to Doomsday. It'll be over quicker. It's like Time to Victorious was over the course 18 months. It was like, what? It's going
forever.
They had to post a timeline. Here's the thing. Here's you have to go. I feel like they're going to need to do that too before they post the last hour of Doomsday. It's like, oh.
On the Doctor Who.tv website, there is a thing like that. Yeah.
Is it a graphic? I love graphics.
No, it's just here's the hours and here's the medium and here's links to purchase or watch or read or whatever.
Is there? Oh, there it is right there. Hour one. Oh, it's all links and stuff like that. But I need a breakdown. Yeah. I need an actual.
They could have done a better job as far as a chart, a graph, a graphic,
love
something
graphics.
To just. An infographic, perhaps.
Yeah, like the Kevin Feige one, standing on stage at Comic-Con or something like that.
something to more easily figure out what's what.
Yeah.
But by the way, I have to praise something Steven sent me privately this week, where they showed Kevin Feige on stage, and it's all the different Trump indictments, which I thought was brilliant.
In the timeline, it was amazing. Yeah.
So good.
Anyway, Doomsday, almost done. At least it's also done in September, and so it won't take any attention away from the actual launch of TV Doctor Who. Which, let's face it, given how much Doctor Who there is in the world, is what we focus on in this podcast, is the televised Doctor. Because if we didn't, it would be too much. It would be too much, and indeed it is. So there, Doomsday, come to Big Finish in September with 4 different stories.
And we haven't even hit the Dave Filoni style spin-offs yet for Doctor Who.
No, we haven't yet. It's not going to be tiring. Are we going to be tired of that? Are we going to be so tired of Doctor Who by the time
It's Doctor Who. We'll take the hit. But
I suppose. We
wouldn't normally.
Yeah, but even in the Torchwood days, we were like, it's Torchwood now.
Yeah, we were definitely less enthusiastic about Torchwood and Sarah Jane than we were Doctor Who proper.
Certainly were.
But yeah, I've still watched it.
Yeah.
And in some cases, quite enjoyed it.
So. I still have never seen Torchwood season 2 outside of making rips from my iPod to watch at the gym, and those rips were anamorphic, so they were squeezed into a 4:3 frame. Yeah, I've never seen series 2 of Torchwood outside of that. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. I have the Blu-ray. I have the bloody Blu-ray.
Yeah, somehow we did reviews of them as they came out?
I think we did. I think they were getting a little more half-assed as it went a long way back in 2007 and 2008. I think it was just like we tried our best with Class. We actually had to have Class, like special segments to talk about Class because it was airing in Canada and the UK, but like it didn't air in the US. So, but like to try to silo that off, it just that
was weird.
It was an odd time, wasn't it? 2016 for many reasons. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my favorite part of that whole thing was Ed Russell going, "I've got something very special," at everyone, including us, losing our minds. And then it's like, here's this spin-off about some kids at Coal Hill School. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's cool.
Coal Hill Academy.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. Yes.
The launch didn't. The botched launch didn't help it. That's for sure. I imagine now they might have a little better
and all
launch when it comes to
all the confusion as well of broadcast stuff because it was on BBC 3,
which was going to go internet, and
I don't remember. I was on the cusp of going online only. But because of the rules of the BBC, it had to be shown on BBC One. So BBC One would show it at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday.
They just dumped it,
just to fulfill their requirement.
Yeah. Doctor Who magazine didn't know what to do with it. It was like, what do we do with this? We don't like it. Yeah. Is this Doctor Who? We just talk about it, I guess. I don't know.
And kudos to Big Finish for continuing. There's books
true.
As well.
And they're good kids. I saw them at Chicago TARDIS one year.
It wasn't bad. Like, it was just kind of there.
It was YA. It was
exactly.
It was it was a different approach, and that's a thing that is neat. Good job on trying stuff. It did feel like that was sort of like, well, we're not going to make Doctor Who this year. What if we use some of the budget just to make a spinoff? How about that? So it's got to go somewhere.
And it had barely anything to do with Doctor Who, really, when you get it down.
It did, yeah. It ended on a cliffhanger too. So there's a Weeping Angel invasion plot that is they'll have to exist in your memories, or as we say,
that's season 3B, I believe. Yeah, of Class,
right?
Or whatever.
And as with any good spinoff, just like The Simpsons visited Chief Wiggum and Principal Skinner in New Orleans, we had Peter Capaldi in the first episode.
Yeah, to wish him luck. That's pretty much what he did. By the time he got there,
he might get a visit from an old friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, Big Doctor is real Doctor.
Mm-hmm. So we're recording this before it's happened. By the time you heard it, it will have happened at the event. The BFI's Missing Believe White event happened on Saturday, August 5th, where they showed clips. Because we hinted at this, there's going to be some colorized 60s Doctor Who. We thought it'd be a whole episode. No, it's censor clips from the Smugglers. Mere seconds of Doctor Who. They've properly colorized clips of the Smugglers. Hopefully we'll be able to see this at some point.
Now, after us ranting for about a good 10 minutes about not wanting to do homework, you just uttered the most homework sentence I've ever heard. Censor clips of colorized Smugglers. Right. It's absolutely meaningless to anybody who isn't basing in this nonsense.
Absolutely, yeah. So The Smugglers is a Doctor Who story from 1966. It no longer exists. There are censor clips that exist because Australian censors, that land of criminals and degenerates, thought that stabbing people on screen was too much for their sensitive eyes in the 1960s. And so they clipped these stuff, and because legally they were required to keep them forever, only the censor clips of some of these missing episodes exist, and that is the only moving footage we have of the Smugglers, is people throwing knives into people's backs and stuff like that. So, and that is what is gotten colorized for people's enjoyment at this Missing Believed Wipe event. Probably like 49 seconds total of that. So intriguing stuff to see it, how it would look like, I suppose, when you were shooting it, because, so that, like, there isn't a color photo shoot for Maureen O'Brien, for instance. No photos of her as Vicky were taken in color. They're all in black and white. They've had to be recolorized. If you see a color photo of Vicky, you're watching probably a Clayton Hickman special there, who does good work on recoloring those. But as an intriguing, thing, it's neat to see what Doctor Who looks like in color. J.R. Southall sent me this morning, actually, just out of the blue, which is funny because we were going to talk about this leading into this. There's a page on archive.org. So I don't know if things get taken down or what, but if you might want to grab these links in the show notes, radiofreescar.com. Somebody 3 years ago uploaded basically most of 1960s Doctor Who colorized. It's probably done like with some program. It's not perfect, obviously, but you're looking at like recoloring like several 25-minute episodes of Doctor Who. It's mildly intriguing, though, I have to say, about watching.
I see a color Chumbly. I'm sold. Color Chumbly, I'm in.
Color Chumbly, man. Like actual proper color Chumbly. Anyway, links in the show notes if you want to have a look at those. It's mildly intriguing. I looked at episode 1 of The Ark because I thought that was a interesting, colorful episode, and like, it's as I say, not perfect, but colorized Doctor Who. Thankfully, not a thing that will probably happen on Blu-rays or anything like that, because I feel like that colorization thing, it sort of came and went with Ted Turner. But an interesting look nonetheless. So, colorized Doctor Who. Are you offended?
No,
okay,
just to defend colorization a little bit.
Right.
The documentary that Peter Jackson did before the Beatles one, We Shall Not Grow Old, where he took footage from World War I, found out where the people were in those particular units, found people with that accent from England to voice them, slowed it down so it's like sort of added frames, so it's like videotape basically you're watching, and colorized it. And he said the thing about colorization is it doesn't like what the Ted Turner did was kind of a quick process with crappy technology comparatively. He's like, you can, as long as you can sit there and work on it, which is what he did, it can look great. And it does look great. Like you are watching World War I stuff as if it's news footage.
It brings it home. It brings it home, doesn't it? It's weird how it kind of connects you to like, oh, wow, this
But you got to put that level of dedication into it, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the resources to do that. So
he does. He directed those Hobbit movies after all, you know?
Yeah, well, this is his make good for that, so.
True. I like Let It Be. Anyway, links to the show notes if you want to read about that. And if you were at the BFI, hope you enjoyed that. And also the Radio Times, which providing like half our news list this week. They talked with Chris Perry, CEO of Kaleidoscope, which helped put on the Smugglers event. And he says, quote unquote, we know where there is missing Doctor Who out there, but the owners won't return it at the moment. I mean, this is something that Paul Vanessa said to us on this very podcast, like 5 years ago now, I think, whereas basically there was at least one collector who had 2 episodes of Doctor Who just sitting there. Waiting. Basically, just there's been like just death watching outside. How's he feeling today? Is he all right? Is he ready to give up?
Standing outside somebody's door, ringing a bell with like a shroud on.
Yeah. Is he ready to give up his film collection yet? But yeah,
I'll be here waiting. No worries. I'll just wait outside.
Yeah, just here in this ordinary van. Everything's fine.
Or you actually dress up like the Watcher, and have the music going on behind you.
No. He went on to say, Chris Perry did, every year we find 50 to 70 lost programs, some famous titles and internationally known names and others not, but significant examples of regional television output, for example. So, yeah, there are fewer than 97 missing episodes of Doctor Who out there. There's at least one in Web of Fear. Somebody walked off of it in Nigeria. And that's been missing for like 11 years.
I kind of hope it's propping up somebody's coffee table. They have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
They're just like, this coffee table's wobbly. I'm going to use this to prop it up.
It's just like, you know what? I actually my table's a little wobbly here. I'm going to take one of these, actually. So, missing episodes. Always good to talk about missing episodes. So, we'll see. I'm curious about what that Terry Burnett score will have. I know we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago about that missing episode of Hugh and I that was found in that film collection. Maybe there are others. Maybe there are other stuff in there that just wasn't labeled. We'll find out. We'll find out in the weeks and years to come. Hopefully, Doctor Who. All right. What do we got here? Oh, it's the kicker. The last thing before our miniscope. Tom Baker's son, Piers Baker, has opened a Doctor Who themed pub in where? In Nottingham. Nottingham. The Bath Inn, it's called. There's a whole bunch of crazy crap on the walls and stuff like that. But also, there's a big TARDIS on the door, which tells you that you're walking into a Doctor Who themed pub. So that's cool. Nottingham is near Derby, I believe.
It's not a million miles away.
No, well, nothing's a million miles away from England, unless you're in England, in which case everything is so far away. You know, I drove 7 hours to play drums in a wedding last weekend and then drove 7 hours back the next day. And it's like, this is something that no one in England would ever do. And
our unit of distance is how long it takes to drive. So, I mean,
exactly. It's not distance
really
at
is.
all. It is. It totally is. 100%. How far away is that? 7 hours. What is
how far is Calgary? 3 hours.
3 hours away. It's not like, yeah, exactly.
I do distinctly hope there's a calendar on the wall that just says July 6th, July 6th, July 6th, July 6th.
It's a reference to the Android invasion. Yeah, that'd be funny. We should get that. Anyway,
and do they sell ginger pop?
Do they sell ginger pop, which Sarah Jane Smith hates? It's only an Android invasion themed pub, as run by Tom Baker's son, Piers Woodcock.
Except for the what do they say? There's 6 foot Tutankhamun sarcophagus. So
that's pretty
kind
cool.
of Pyramids of Marzi a little bit there too.
Yeah, you got to open that up and have the kaleidoscope thing. Just have a big screen in there that does the kaleidoscope.
Yeah. with the theme with the
exactly
the music.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Hammond organ music. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Maybe if maybe when we're in the England next year or something, we'll pop into that place. But that's kind of cool. Kind of cool. I remember hearing about Piers Baker in Tom Baker's biography back in 1993, which he talked about a little bit.
Derby to Nottingham is about 15 miles for
50 miles. What is that in minutes? Come on.
27 minutes says Google Maps.
27 minutes? That's fine. That's on British roads though, so like 18 roundabouts in there.
Well, presumably you take the train there anyway, so
probably actually, yeah. Anyway, it'd be kind of cool.
Train journey is 19 to 27 minutes, says crosscountrytrains.co.uk.
Nice. Noting that down for future. Going to see Tom Baker's son's pub.
We can destroy another restaurant that's got a Doctor Who connection.
That's true. That's true. All right, kids, that's it. That's it for our news this week. But now it's time to talk about Doctor Who director Saul Metzstein in the Miniscope.
Could be a theme park for the future. Or it might be inside a Miniscope.
Oh, shut up.
A Miniscope, yes, of course, why not?
Why not a Miniscope? Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who, who was never directed by the subject of our Miniscope victim for this week and next. It's Saul Metzstein, director of 5 complete stories, that being Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, Town Called Mercy, The Snowmen, The Crimson Oda, and Night of the Doctor, and about 80 auxiliary different things like Pond Life and She Said, He Said, and some other things that I don't think we actually watched. So, did either of you? No, I watched Pond Life a little bit. Not that I'm going to mention it much here. No, I don't remember. Chris, you just stuck to the 5, the canonical 5, did you? Yeah.
Well, some of them, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Canonical 3 here as well.
That's right, because I am the only sucker that watches all of these, and we divvy them up between Warren and Chris. So who watched then? This episode will feature Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and The Town Called Mercy from Series 7A. Who watched Dinosaurs on a Spaceship? Which one he is?
I did.
I did. Okay. What are your initial thoughts, Chris?
And you did.
I did too, obviously. Yeah, I watched them all. But what were your initial thoughts as a direction on Dinosaurs on a Spaceship?
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. My prevailing thought was I haven't watched any Matt Smith stuff in a while, and damn, do I miss Matt Smith.
He's good, isn't he? Yeah,
I agree.
He's a good Doctor Who. I know it's so funny because you're saying I haven't watched much Matt Smith, and as we record this, I'm still on my pilgrimage and I haven't hit Matt Smith's era yet. And so my memory is failing me, cheating, if you will. That I don't remember when it started happening, where instead of just putting the date lines up on the the bottom of the screen or something, they actually worked them in to the setting itself, like they would be written on a wall in this sort of format. And it starts here at the very, and it happens throughout several episodes. There's the Datelines actually sort of like appear on the side of a wall.
It's in Town Called Mercy, I think.
It's on Town Called Mercy. It's in The Snowman. It's in The Crimson Horror. The only time it isn't is Name of the Doctor. And so I'm just thinking, is that a Saul Metzstein initiative, or was that just coincidentally 4 of his 5 stories feature Datelines?
Didn't Chibnall use it too for one of the Dalek stories? I think. I could be wrong about
well, that's later on, though, Warren. I'm talking about.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it was 8 later, but even if Metzstein came up with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so curious as to whether, because in the classic era, a director would come up with that. Michael Ferguson would go, how about for this one, for Ambassadors of Death, we fade down in the middle of the title sequence and do a recap of the cliffhanger, and then we put bang, Ambassadors of Death, and a director could do that. I don't know if that's like a director would just carte blanche do that in the modern series, but he could suggest it. And so perhaps that was Saul Metzstein's suggestion. I don't know for sure. I don't know. But you're right, Chris. It's fine. The direction is kind of fine, isn't it?
There are a lot of instances where I found myself just kind of just watching. Like, I'm sitting there ostensibly to take notes and kind of look at it with a particular perspective and whatnot, and just found myself getting caught up in the story a lot more than I had wanted. Mostly Matt Smith, but also there's just a lot of stuff that is just fine. Mm-hmm. It's perfectly serviceable. It's nothing that necessarily stands out.
No, but sometimes it's good to have competent directors.
Yes, that's always a plus.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're talking like what's his face? Adam Smith?
No, Andrew Gunn.
No, Andrew Gunn.
The exact opposite.
The other A director.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew Gunn. It's not like we're talking about Andrew Gunn level of ineptitude, because that's far from that.
Yeah, it's there are some tropes that I noticed though in watching these 5 episodes. Pretty much in one fell swoop. One starts showing up next episode in Town Called Mercy, so I won't mention it until then. But one thing that he likes doing in this episode, and maybe it's a way to save on making a prop that has a screen on it, is a lot of the times in this episode we see a POV shot of characters looking at a screen from behind the screen. So they basically sort of superimpose, like the graphics, but like backwards, as if we're looking out through the screen and stuff. And that's he
Which
does
is
that
an equal
a lot.
amount of work. So I don't. Maybe it's a different department or something. Who knows?
Maybe, but it's an interesting shot to so you don't have to worry about cutting back and forth to a screen of nonsense, back to someone looking at a screen, back to the screen. It's a pretty economical way of actually getting both in the same shot. Anyway,
very true.
Yeah,
but there's still lots of like actual screens in this episode.
There are too. Yeah, but
so it's not like there's only one, not the other.
That's true. But I did kind of like that. But I did notice it. There are a few of those type of screenshots in this one, so to speak. What else? Yeah.
As far as themes go, I guess one thing that caught my attention, more so in Crimson Horror and Dinosaurs than Snowmen, but there's a lot of times where he'll have like a 2-person conversation, or something small and intimate, whatever. But the camera just never stops. It just keeps kind of just floating in one direction or another, and it just keeps constantly moving, which it's kind of fun, kind of neat, different.
Yeah.
Rather than just some static, static 2-shot or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's I mean, there are a couple instances I noted down in this where it's kind of frenetic in the early stages, but when there's a nice comedy bit on the beach, when it's just the Doctor, Brian, and Rory, and it just sticks in a wide shot for the whole time, which is great for comedy. If you're doing like a 3-person comedy skit where they're
low wide shot as well.
Yeah, where you're sort of reacting, it sort of ruins the pace of the comedy if you're cutting in between and stuff, and it lets the comedy of the moment sort of evolve from what the actors are doing, which I kind of like. But also later on, when it gets less frenetic, when it's just Solomon is played by David Bradley, and the Doctor sort of having a pretty tense conversation and confrontation. It's a lot less frenetic there, which is good. The moment sort of hangs on their dialogue and their reactions to it. And I like that he adapts his direction to what the story requires, as opposed to sort of forcing a directorial style on it all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you have any notes? Did you write down notes? I know I wrote down some notes, Chris. But if you have any notes, feel free to bring them up.
Precious few, but I did write a few things down.
Mm-hmm.
There were some nice use of high shots and low shots in Dinosaurs, like you mentioned the beach scene, for example. Early on, when they first get onto the ship, there's a lot of like stuff that's borderline security camera type footage. So the camera's like way up high, shooting down, and and when Solomon first meets the Doctor, the camera is basically at Solomon's head level, so it looks up at the Doctor when they're talking, and yeah, that caught my eye,
right,
for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
When Rory and Brian are piloting the ship, the camera's just like literally all over the place, like it's just going like a million miles an hour.
It matches the craziness of them flying a ship that is completely alien to them. Yeah,
absolutely. And then toward the end, when Brian's sitting in the entrance of the TARDIS eating, there's a camera spin around the TARDIS that does, I don't know, a couple loops or so, which looks kind of fun and neat.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. There we are.
Hard to argue with.
So, yep. There is. So I noted some down. Let's see here. Let's read them off and see what I thought. I said I like the different fonts and placements of Dave lines. There we go. Little did I know how much that would continue. POV shot of the elevator coming down. Metzstein, and we'll get into this because I did a count. I did a running tally of this kind of shot. Metzstein loves pushing in on Matt Smith as he delivers important lines, but it'll come to a head in the next episode. I think that there's a bit of a shadow reveal of Solomon. We see his shadow before we see him, which I thought was kind of effectively done. I thought the mixing of CG dinosaurs and prosthetic dinosaurs was really well done. Like it wasn't like Le Scythine from several years prior to this, where you could the join between very fluid looking CG Scythine and ropey dopey prosthetics were a little too much. I thought it's really worked that well. It's so far that the shot where Tracy dies and the Doctor sort of comforting him, I thought was really well done. There's Matt Smith acting against his big lump of styrofoam or something as this poor dinosaur is dying, and it's actually a really well done scene. It's you couldn't get away with that if that was a CG dinosaur. I don't think the fact that it's real, I think really works. And then my last one is there's a good shot where towards the end of the episode where Amy and Rory are sort of thinking like, what do we do with our lives? We're kind of thinking about moving on, and Rory's at the front and Amy's sort of in the middle, and the Doctor's sort of standing between them, looking at them both. But none of them are looking at each other. They're all sort of looking off, but they all have like different thoughts on their mind about where they're heading and such. But it's completely dialogue free. And I thought actually that was a well directed scene. You could have they could have just sort of stated, in quietly what they were thinking actually. But the fact that they were just showing what they were concerned about without actually saying anything, I thought was quite effective.
Yeah, I mean the way it was staged and blocked and all that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing I think this is something we'll probably want to wait until after talking about A Town Called Mercy to properly answer. But one of the mandates of Series 7A, as part of the fact that it was only a 5-episode run, was it was supposed to be like super like cinematic and big and things like that. If you remember back, they had the like individual movie poster style things for every episode, and
they were supposed to feel different. Each episode was supposed to be like its own movie kind of thing.
Yeah, and we got like Matt Smith's face showing up in credits now, and things like that, and like I said, I'll maybe ask this once we're done talking about Mercy, but does Metzstein deliver on this grandiosity that was sought?
I mean, does anyone really? Is the power of three?
He does in our next episode.
Yeah,
one particular one that I watched.
I feel like Asylum of the Daleks kicks off that whole season. I think that is probably the most epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you think of Town Called Mercy, I mean, they shot it in Spain, where all the Leone stuff was shot and everything. So you've got this leg up already.
Yeah,
over a studio spaceship thing like in Dinosaurs.
Yeah, but there are dinosaurs and they're on a spaceship, and that's
the magic right there.
That's the hook. that's legitimately the elevator pitch that Moffat gave Chibnall to begin writing it in the first place.
I couldn't remember, but I just looked it up. Asylum was directed by Nick Huron.
It was. Flagrant ignoring of Dalek prop history, according to Gav Rival of Terra Nation Army. So
throw him into jail for many rels for this crime.
Many rels, a lifetime of rels.
Huron also directed Angels Take Manhattan.
He did.
With Douglas McKinnon in the middle there for Power of Three.
And the ever troublesome Stephen Burkhoff. Yeah. You know what? I thought it was a fine episode. It hustled along. No direction really curtailed it, nor did it. Sort of like it didn't make it either, which is fine. We don't need a bunch of Graham Harpers. Sometimes it's good to have just steady, stable direction, which might explain. I mean, let's face it. This is, no, I'm not comparing Saul Metzstein with, like Ron Jones or Bennett Roberts or somebody else from the classic series who were most notable for or Peter Moffat, most notable for bringing stuff in on time and under budget. But sometimes this is why directors work 5 episodes in a whole series because they get it done. They get stuff done, and that's
deliver.
That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Yeah. Anything else on Dinosaurs, Warren? I know you didn't watch this especially for this, but do you have any memories of it? Or
I mean, I was thinking the whole time you're talking about this, you could, and this is not pejorative, you could just say for kids, and it pretty much explains everything about this episode. It's kind of an episode for kids, which is great. It's fine. For what it's doing, that's a perfect remit. Dinosaurs on a spaceship. What more does a kid want?
It had been long enough that I'd forgotten about Riddell and Nefertiti in this story.
Well, yeah, there's innuendo, but it's a Stephen Moffat jam, so of course there is.
That's true.
It's a Chris Chibnall jam, but...
Yeah,
I know, but Moffat's innuendo covered Miniscope.
Yeah,
somehow make anything like that.
Not even talking about the innuendo. And is it innuendo when they actually do hook up at the end of the episode?
But I guess that's exuendo.
But I had forgotten that they were in it at all.
Yeah. Well, maybe Chris, you should do another pilgrimage too, watching all of modern Who. So you can refresh yourself with it, because sometimes I feel...
In this specific episode.
Yeah, this specific episode, yeah.
Maybe.
It's good stuff. I look forward to watching this again. I'm not skipping over this when I hit my pilgrimage, when I actually come across these episodes. I'll be watching them again, because the point is to burn these things into my brain rather than actually experience new television or movies. That's my main goal.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, right?
I'd believe that, yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's move on from the entertaining Dinosaurs on the Spaceship off to Spain, as we alluded to, for a town called Mercy. A lot of it shot in the old location where some of Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns were made back in the 1960s. Here's the thing with westerns, and I was listening to my interview with Saul Metzstein from 2013 at Gallifrey One, and I asked him about, was he a fan of westerns? And I don't think he was. He just sort of said every director sort of knows, the beats, so to speak, when it comes to western. And it's fascinating that it's not like John Ford movies or anything like that from earlier. It's the Sergio Leone ones, the movies that basically epitomized westerns for a generation or 6 of directors. Those are the ones that people go to. No one ever is trying to mimic John Wayne movies. They're all trying to mimic Clint Eastwood movies from the 1960s.
Especially European directors, because that stuff would have been easier to get. It would probably be on TV all the time, right, as opposed to some American stuff.
I suppose it could have been, yeah. But, you know, it's... You can't do Sergio Leone and on a TV show, just because... Certainly not Doctor Who in 2012, because part of Leone's style, which I very much appreciate, is the long lingering shots, you know, the slowness of
waiting at a train station and so forth.
Right? Yeah. Like, the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West is one of my favorite scenes of all time. And it takes like 15 minutes, and it's mostly people waiting, and then there's a shootout, and it takes 4 seconds for the shootout to happen, and it's great.
It's a luxury of cinema, though. I mean, you couldn't possibly do that on TV without getting fired.
Right? And so it always feels like you're doing kind of like a quick cover version of a Western when you're doing it for TV, and it's tough to do.
It's Doctor Who, so you are anyway. I mean...
Yeah, I know. So it's weird because, I mean, I never thought much of Robot of Sherwood either, because I like Robin of Sherwood and I like medieval stuff, and that too sort of deserves to be kind of mucky and slow, just kind of like the time was back then. And so when everything's sort of like fast paced and happening and stuff, this doesn't feel like a Western. This feels far too up tempo for a Western,
Not to endlessly harp on Tombstone, but that is an up tempo Western, and it sure as hell feels like a Western.
So I haven't seen it, Warren. That's
really
one
should.
of Kevin Costner.
It's over 30 years old. You should. No, it's not Kevin Costner, for God's sakes, man.
Thought it was Kevin
Yes,
Costner.
I know you're deliberately lying, which doesn't make it any better, by the way.
I know. I tell you what, though, Ben Browder as Isaac the sheriff, he instantly lends credibility to this whole thing because he's an actual American. And there's a few non-Americans in this cast, that's for sure. You can tell they all sort of talk like this, you know, no matter where they're from. They're
like Hank Hill.
Like
Hank Hill by way of the Cotswolds.
A little bit, yeah. But Ben Browder's actually American, and you can tell in this.
It's a much smaller role, but you have a bona fide Canadian in there as well. It's Gary Kagan.
Gary Kagan in there, yeah, absolutely. Warren, you watched this one. What are your thoughts about this?
Okay, well, as you said, I have this somewhere. I think I said mostly conventional shooting, which fits the context. It does work with this because it's a Western. You're going to shoot it a certain way, and he does, and he hits it well, I think. Hits the Western tropes, like the freak townsfolk well, was one of my notes. Like all the things you expect in a Western are here, and they're not, oh, God, this. It's more like, oh, yeah, that. It's pretty decent. Although at the very beginning, you have no way of really telling this is a Western other than maybe the droid guy's hat.
Yeah.
And the narration is a bit Western-y, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And then once you get past the cold open, this is a Western, right? But that for that cold open, you're not entirely sure what it is, which I thought was kind of neat. One thing I noted while I was writing down my notes was, I think I said, proper moody lighting and color grading, not Netflix slop. because there's actual colors in this and lighting that has shadows on people's faces. Yeah. And it's not just a bunch of gray crap. So look what they took from us from 2013. In 2013, you had to actually prove something. Now it's just like, I don't know, put a blood in the camera. Who cares? Whatever. Let's go for lunch.
I know there's some great shots, like at sunset, like with the doctor riding the horse, and like,
and it's colorful. That's the important thing.
It actually is. Yeah, I thought some of those sunset.
I don't know. I mean,
really
I'm sure he had something to do with it. He probably said it in the grading process, but that's not just him. But it does really lend itself to the Western feel of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fake that sunset shot. That is something you can't superimpose a sun.
Or
in
if
the
you
background.
do, you're doing a very good job anyway.
Yeah, but I don't think 2012 is doing that good a job there.
In terms of performance, I think Smith he's always good as an angry guy, but he's quite good in this as an angry guy. And I love how manipulative Dex is, because that's something that's not easy to do the way he does it. Like, he's supposed to be this helpless guy, but he's actually kind of manipulative, and he does a very good job of that, I think. And then, he goes through a whole arc of from that to actually regretting what he's done. And I thought that guy, that could have been a lot more maudlin than it was. Mm-hmm. And presumably part of that is Metzstein's influence.
Well, Adrian Skaro is the guy who plays him, and he's like the most sniveling of Brit. That's what I love about him. He's he's so different from everyone else in that town that he just.
But then he turns into this kind of monster, and you're like, oh, I buy that too. He does seem like he could be this Heinrich Himmler kind of dude.
Yeah, like a misguided scientist, not an actual craven-hearted scientist or monster or anything. Like, he still speaks in a sort of similar. Even when he's pointing a gun at Amy, he's sort of like he's still doing it in a calm manner. Yeah.
He's going to order toast from Basil Fawlty, yeah.
Yeah. So I hinted at it, but it happens 3 times in this episode where, and again, I can't remember if this is the thing that happened throughout Matt Smith's time. I certainly remember it happening, but then when I've been watching these episodes, I realize it happens a lot here. And that is, Matt Smith is standing in a medium to long shot with his back to camera, and something has been said to him or that he has heard. And the camera pushes in as Matt Smith dramatically turns around to face something just off camera. It happens a lot in these stories. It happens 3 times in this episode. I actually said, push in to Matt Smith as he dramatically turns around, count 1. And it happened 2 times. 2 times, it's like towards the end of the episode before the shootout. It happens twice in like 10 seconds. Almost the same identical shot.
You know who did a lot of that? James T. Kirk did a lot of that too.
I suppose, but to have the camera push in too. Yeah, it's just
okay, yeah. Well, sometimes the camera push in, but most of the time he'd be walking into his room and then whip around and give his big soliloquy.
Oh no, yeah, it wasn't a whip around. It's like a slow turning around, and it happens 3 times in this. And so that is definitely a theme that Metzstein likes to put in these episodes, I believe. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, it can be overdone. And it was bordering on it at times during the course of these 5 episodes. It didn't bother me, though,
honestly.
No. I knew enough that it was going to happen that I was expecting it, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but most people watching this week to week aren't sitting there like we are taking notes as they watch a series by the same guy, right? So
That's true. That is true, yeah.
I got a few other bits and pieces.
Yeah, what do you got?
Just mostly observations. There's fun edits when Doctor Who examines the ship when he's inside Dex's ship. There's a bunch of crazy edits that are just entertaining to watch. There's an Acorn computer running that spaceship.
I just want to point out that I also called him Doctor Who in my notes too. So let's agree on that. Yeah,
And then my final thing is when he's talking back and forth with Susan the horse, is he ad-libbing or not? This is what I want to know. Like, was he just throwing stuff at the horse and they added in the horse huffing later? Or was the horse huffing in real, like actually on the shots and then he was just kind of winging it? Or is that stuff Moffat wrote?
I was watching that too, and I think that is a legitimate reaction from Matt Smith, this horse made a noise, and I think he's it's funny, I just watched Arthur, the 1981 film with Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli. I liked it, and there's a scene in the stable where Liza Minnelli is sort of like hugging a horse and everything, and the horse is clearly just acting like a horse, and Liza Minnelli just goes with whatever the horse is doing, and sticks with the scene in character. Nice. This is what actors do, I guess, when you are acting with horses, is that sometimes the horse is going to do something, and you have to sort of react to it, and well done, Matt Smith.
I've only run into, I was testing gas lines as a college job in one summer, and a horse was walking up to me, and it's like, it's exactly like being followed by a friendly car. It's really weird, unless you're growing up in a farmer's thing. But if you're a city boy like me, you're like, why is this giant thing wanting to be my friend? I'm a little unnerved by this. Anyway, my final note is, I think my favorite line of the whole thing is when Amy goes, "You've clearly been taking stupid lessons." I laughed out loud when I heard that, even though I've seen this before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. It was good, this one, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah. Chris, what about you? Do you remember this one at all, even though you didn't watch it especially for this?
Bits and pieces, yeah. I think the biggest, like I said before, the biggest leg up from a directional standpoint is just the vistas and the prefab town and all that just ready to go. Mm-hmm. And you can sit there, you can figure out a lot of stuff to do when you don't have to actually, imagine it and create it and shoot it. It's just already there.
Yeah. And it's on a green screen or some hastily built thing. Like, imagine if they tried to build that sort of set, in Cardiff or something like that.
Yeah, not a good idea.
No, the interiors of which were there.
In the studio or...
Yeah.
Like, nowadays, that's the kind of thing that things like the volume would take care of very easily, very readily. But we didn't have such a thing in 2012, did we?
No,
I'm glad. Do it by hand, like a man.
I know.
2011, whenever we were shot.
Yeah. I mean, real sets are always better than... I think things are starting to veer back towards that anyway, but...
I think it depends. Like all these tools, they get overused and then they get used properly, and it takes a while for that to happen.
That's true. You can overuse it, though. I mean, I know we dumped on...
people will.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to tone itself down.
I know we dumped on Andor a little bit on this show just because of its pacing and stuff like that. But, boy, I'd sure to look a lot better than some of the stuff that we saw shot on the volume.
There's a bit of volume in there, though.
There is a bit of volume, but a lot of it is not volume. And that's, a lot of the exterior shots are not volume. So, and you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell. You can't fool us, Mom. Don't try to replace the goldfish when we're gone, because we'll know. We'll know.
What do we do? These obsessives don't like it.
Right.
All right, shut it all down, guys.
Yep. If you're gonna make it, I mean, at least if you're gonna make it look bad, give us some fringing, give us some CSO fringing, you know,
make it look real bad.
Yeah, like let me know, like, oh, come on, you're just you're spending way too much money on this really fake effect. If you're gonna make a fake effect, make it bad, proper bad. Damn it.
You know what the Venn diagram is for that? Three of us in a circle. That's what the Venn diagram is. Wants that? And maybe a couple of our friends.
Probably. Analyzing the directorial works of a director from 10 years ago on Doctor Who. Yep. Is that it then? Is that on these two? Do you want to have anything more to say on the 7A?
For me.
Yeah? Chris, anything else to say about this or Dinosaurs that you want to...
No, nothing from a Metzstein perspective. I still wonder whose idea it was to make the ending of Town Called Mercy the same as whatchamacallit, Steve Martin movie.
Three Amigos?
Three Amigos, that's the one.
I was going to say LA Story? I don't follow.
The Jerk, that's the one.
Exactly. Someone here hates cans.
Maybe it was Toby Whithouse. Maybe he's the one that says, you know what, we need to make a reference to Three Amigos in Doctor Who, and that's how we're going to end it.
I mean, that's a reasonable request.
Yeah. Could
just
be.
Like in, I'm just reading stuff on Wikipedia about Town Called Mercy here, and there's like, people saying that the Doctor's decision to let Jex die was out of character. But in Dinosaurs, David Solomon gets in his spaceship. The Doctor, sends him on his way. The missiles that were going to hit the Silurian ship start chasing Solomon's ship, and he dies. There's no way the Doctor doesn't know that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
I think it's a gray area. I mean, goodness me, how many times did Tom Baker's Doctor just blow things up in the classic Doctor Who,
But did he have the right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think originally, I seem to recall reading that Nefertiti, I think, was supposed to die or disappear or something with Solomon, but they decided to have her come with the Doctor and saved at the end of that story. So nobody stayed behind to sacrifice themselves to take out Solomon. So the Doctor basically sacrificed Solomon and took him out. So I think it's fine. He was a jerk. Solomon was a grade A jerk. Who suspiciously looked a little bit like the first Doctor, if you really think about it. So
no, I don't see it.
Oh, it's there if you look closely, just closely though. No, not at all. Well, all right. That's it then for this first half of our Miniscope on director Saul Metzstein. Join us next time as we dive into The Snowmen, The Crimson Horror, and The Name of the Doctor. Here on the Miniscope. So, until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro, subscribe to us on iTunes, and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.